And now, Podtendo presents Sidequest Cinema.
You're going out there to destroy them. That's the plan. All right, I'm in.
The first time she survived the most terrifying creature in the universe, she thought the nightmare was over.
Something under the floor.
It hadn't even begun. Coming straight for us.
That's inside the room.
Sigourney Weaver, Aliens, the new movie. This time, it's war.
Starts July 18th at a Famous Players and other selected theaters near you. Consult local list.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sidequest Cinema, presented by Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast. That's what we're branded, but I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm Mick, and I'm joined by
Tyson.
Ooh, we're still doing scary spooky months, guys. Oh boy, you thought last time your poop was scared out of your pants with Alien. We got more aliens, because we're talking about aliens. There's at least 2 in this movie.
Yes, at least 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, the world's the limit when you put an S on the end of your titles. So that's it. So still staying scary. I survived the scary month here as we find ourselves at the end of the month. Good spooky time.
Yeah, it's been really foggy and leaves are changing that awesome color. It's a good time.
Yeah.
It's cold though. Like I feel like any Halloween costume plans would be smart enough to like, what can I do that's an insulated costume?
Oh
in
yeah,
case it's cold.
I have an old Boston Bruins jersey, and I'm always like, if I needed one, I should just get my little hockey stick putter and like put on the Bruins jersey with a backwards hat and just goes Happy Gilmore, because then I get to wear like at least a sweater when I'm out. So
Yeah. Then you can't even layer underneath of it where you can throw on like a hoodie or even.
I think he just wears sweatpants too. Like he just wears like comfy sweatpants. So you just literally sweatpants and a Bruins jersey. Easy. Backwards hat. Happy Gilmore.
What? You know what? Adam Sandler costumes are underrated. Definitely you got to buy that. Those are solid choices because you're just dressing as a casual guy.
That's it. Just regular dude. Regular guy. Yeah. For myself, I like fall. It's good. Although I'm surprised how quickly my body goes from being hot all the time and just feeling like I'm a sweaty mess of a person to being like frozen and turning my heater on and curling up under blankets. Like there's almost no medium where I'm just like, oh, I'm actually comfortable and like myself.
It's about a 2-day period.
Yeah.
And those 2 days are still kind of like gross.
Yeah.
But you go from like sweaty after like your morning walks or whatever to like, no, I'm freezing cold.
Yeah, especially as a dog owner, like that morning walks, like what do you put on? Because in the summertime you put a jacket on, you're sweating. Oh, you're sweating. You're gonna be a puddle. But then there's sometimes in the fall you go out and then you're like, well, now I'm frozen. Why didn't I put 4 coats on? Stupid.
Why did I bring the thin mittens? Just like winter gear up if you live in Canada.
Yeah, we had almost some cold November rain going on this morning, so love that. There we go. But without further ado, guys, look at that. You don't want to hear about our boring lives and mittens. That's what we talk mostly about in Canada, though. So you gotta give us that. We're gonna talk about Aliens. It's pretty fun. It was released July 18th, 1986. The runtime was 137 minutes. The budget was $18.5 million. The box office saw a return of 131.1 to about $183.3 million. It was directed by James Cameron, produced by his then girlfriend, potential wife, Gail Ann Hurd, and the cast included Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Paul Reiser, Lance Hendrickson, and Carrie Henn. Woo!
Yeah, solid cast. I don't know if this cast is iconic just because of this movie. That's the problem. This movie's pretty big. It's probably one of the biggest movies that I can remember, even as a kid.
Which way?
And just even the toys, or just like.
Oh, you mean like the scale and kind of the scope of it in your universe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, it's a good cast. Michael Biehn obviously worked with Cameron in the first Terminator movie, right? So that was probably like a natural fit there for him to come along. And yeah, no, casting works. We'll do some development details, and then we're right into the movie, folks. We fly through these guys because we got to scare you. We got to talk about how scary this movie is. Is it scary? Creepy. It's more creepy. More creepy than scary, maybe. Development details. The success of Aliens led to the immediate discussion of a sequel, but the production company, Brandywine Productions, struggled to convince 20th Century Fox to make it. In November of 1983, Cameron submitted a 42-page film treatment for Alien 2, written in 3 days based on the Geiler and Hill's suggestion of Ripley and soldiers. The studio had a mixed reaction, one executive calling it a constant stream of horror without character development. By July the following year, production of The Terminator was delayed for 9 months because Arnold Schwarzenegger was contractually obligated to film Conan the Destroyer in 1984. Cameron used the time to develop his treatment, expanding it to 90 pages. Cameron turned in the finished film script in February of 1985, hours before a Hollywood writer's strike. Cameron recalled the audience reaction while seeing Alien in theater and believed it would be difficult to recreate the emotion and novelty of the original. Fox did not want Weaver to return, Sigourney Weaver that is, because they expected her to demand a high salary. Cameron quit, went on his honeymoon with producer Gail Ann Hurd, and when the production was greenlit upon the pair's arrival. Her salary was $1 million and a percentage of the box office. That's pretty solid. Aliens was filmed primarily at Pinewood Studios in England. The alien nest was filmed in a decommissioned Acton Lane power station in London, and the set was left in place until the filming of 1989, Batman. The cast spent a lot of time getting to know each other before the film began. Weaver and Paxton spent a lot of time with Carrie Henn while not filming, coloring, and doing like finger painting and just fun kid stuff to kind of keep her mind off of the terrible, crazy monsters. A deleted scene in Aliens establishes a life cycle for the alien creature in which a life form would be cocooned and transformed into an egg that birthed a facehugger, and the Queen Alien's design was based on a Black Widow spider. Cool.
Yeah, very cool. And you definitely see when the Queen enters, you see that spider design for sure with all the gross tentacles. Yeah, cool. It's cool that there was just like, God, I love these sets. Isn't these sets so nice?
Oh, yeah. Taking the time. I actually watched this twice. I watched this last weekend. It's just kind of prep, but like sometimes you play on your phone, and sometimes I'm playing like my Game Boy. You just don't pay attention. So then last night I was like, I have to watch this again before I can kind of give this one a full treatment. I feel like with Alien, what do you say? What do you say about the first movie? Like, I feel like we were both kind of subdued with our review, right? Like, you hit the points, but it's kind of one of those things that's been done repeatedly. Whereas Aliens, I don't know, is there new ground to tread? I kind of feel like there is potentially, right? Like, maybe we're coming at it with, probably a lot of baggage on our sides, but that should lead us to kind of having interesting conversations, right? And I was a little bit more excited to watch this one again. I watched it twice. And then part of my research before doing this was I did hear a story that part of the negotiating to get, of having Sigourney Weaver come back to this project was Cameron went to Arnold Schwarzenegger's agent and told him that he was going to do Alien 2 and basically just redo the movie. Leave Ripley out. It's not a thing. Go back and tell his version of the story and just kind of leave Sigourney Weaver and Ripley out of the story altogether. Maybe Schwarzenegger would be interested. It's going to be a bit more of a gritty take. Well, his agent then went around and talked to a bunch of people, and when Weaver's agent heard about this, he was appalled and like forced them to take Sigourney Weaver back for this movie. So he kind of like gamed the system to have Weaver return to this project.
Yeah, that seems like very smart thing James Cameron would do.
Yeah.
It's like I know how this is going to play out if I approach it traditionally, but if I do it like this, and I'm going to kill off the most beloved character that everybody has to come back. She survives. She has to come back.
She has to come back. Why not? Yeah. So I was like, okay, that seems like a pretty good heads up play. We will talk a little bit about the James Cameron effect and the Ridley Scott effect. I think probably towards the end of it, but there is noteworthy that Cameron kind of took up what was Ridley's baby, right? Like, he kind of birthed this world, and Cameron kind of came in and gave his spin on it.
Yeah, and when we talked in kind of Aliens, are kind of my points was it's really shoestrung together. Like, it's just a haunted movie or a haunted house in space with but instead of like with an alien with acid blood. It's pretty cool, but there's not a lot else to it, which is like perfect for a horror movie. And it's nice to be left up to the imagination. This was like trying to build out the lore, but it did it in such a like beautiful way that every other, like the entire Aliens franchise after this basically doesn't know where to go, because this lays so much great groundwork, and I'd love to see a better take. And they have been saying for years that people were gonna, like, Sigourney Weaver was gonna come back, and the guy that directed District 9 was gonna direct, and they were gonna do this whole big old thing, and never materialized into anything. And it's just like we've always wanted just like a sequel to this movie, truly, because it did such an amazing job that we ended up stopping caring kind of about like this cool like there's an alien in space and what does that mean, to basically it's like, oh no, this is First Contact really, and or like the reaction to First Contact, and we see like the right, like it built it out so well, and we just never really got a true follow-up. It's always just been waffling ever since this, and it's so frustrating to me. So I agree. It is weird that they've never kind of been able to satisfy the craving left by these first two films, which if we were to play a game right now, and I realize we're not getting into the review and we're like meandering just on the outside of it, I don't know if I have a favorite. Like Aliens, they're fine. They're good. They work really well together. Like, in fact, they're like beautifully made. They almost like are the perfect combo, like peanut butter and jam, right? Like there's this perfect complement to each other. You have to watch Alien and then Aliens, right? Like it's a double feature. It kind of has to go together. They're hard to kind of pick apart, right? And it's odd. Like there's not a lot of films that are like that. Like you have to watch these two films together, right? And they kind of stand alone as just these like excellence marks in a, oh boy, when we start, if we kept going through all the Alien movies, we'd have a bad time. But we're gonna end. And it falls off pretty quick.
Oh yeah, we're starting and staying on the high ones for a reason. So
yeah, and I think that these kind of two movies are like they have a bit of harmony to each other. Like Aliens is an answer to Alien. Mm-hmm. Like Alien is very slow burny, and like these aliens are a threat, and how do you handle them? And you can't run away. Aliens is like, well, you can run away, but you can't do that forever. And what happens when it's nighttime and you need to like rest, or you need to like actually get out of there? Like, how do you manage when you're stranded on an alien world?
The threat is just a lot real, or a lot different, right? And it has that. So.
And it's kind of like this, like it's a fun escalation, and that's why where do you go from there?
No, exactly. And then if we're gonna play devil's advocate, like, well, you make a good Alien movie. You're like, I don't know if you can. I think 1 and 2 are just so perfect that you kind of just have to leave it at that, right? And they hit all the big notes. We just kind of go on. So speaking of moving on, let's move on to our first memories of this movie. So I don't really recall watching this movie for the first time. I think after my poor showing from Alien, my parents were probably like, I don't know if this boy can cope. Maybe we'll give it some time. It was definitely probably on the Space Channel when I was like, I want to say like 11 to 13, somewhere in that area. I finally sat through it, and I was like, oh shit, that was good. Like, like that was a pretty good movie. Then I probably went back and watched Alien. So this was my first, like, I finally watched all of Aliens, and then I was like, now I'm brave enough to watch Alien. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's manageable, right? It's freaked out. It's tense. I kind of remember it being kind of like a masterpiece, and I was like, wow, what a great movie. Like, this should stand up there with the greats such as Star Wars, right? Like any of those big sci-fi movies. I think this goes kind of toe-to-toe, gives you everything you want. And I still, yes, I work in an industry where sometimes I pop my head up into ceiling tiles. Every single time I'm expecting a scary-ass bunch of xenomorphs crawling towards me. So, but I got my little, like, screwdriver, and I'm like, I'm ready to fight them. Let's go.
Yep, that's fair. Hey, you got to prepare just in case.
Yourself, first memories? Do you remember anything?
Nothing. I just remember being scared by it. I don't remember when, just being scared by it. Okay. And I remember the toys more, playing with the toys a lot. Like these toys were awesome, and the comics that came with them. And for some reason, we just had a lot of them. I don't know if they were in like the discount bin at this point, because the movie probably was out for a really long time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe it's around like a VHS release.
Aliens toy line. So this is the kind of stuff I should have done beforehand. Kenner Aliens action figure line. It was released in 1992, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was probably 92, maybe 93, because we probably grabbed it in a discount bin and because we grabbed a bunch of them. I remember we
So
had
we're like 6 and
the
4.
Bolt one,
We're like
the
6
Gorilla
and
one.
4-year-old, and we're like, yeah, this seems fine.
You know, the one was a water squirter. Like, these are made for kids. No adult, like, modern adult toys. Like, this squirts water.
Oh, absolutely not. And like tons of people had them, right? That's the thing. Like you'd go to kids' houses and you'd be like, wait, you have a Flying Queen alien toy? Oh, where's that? And like, oh, it's just a toy. Yeah, but I know we had the Hicks. We had the little Stinger. I think it's called like the Stinger. It's like a little car. There was somebody had
Did we have Apone? Did we have an Apone? I just always wanted an Apone, maybe, because he was the coolest.
Yeah, somebody definitely had that, but we had like, it was like a gorilla alien, and there was like a bull alien that like shot its head out or something like that. Yeah, very, very, very odd toy series. But yeah, definitely one of those things where I would say I feel that strong alignment like you do to say that the toys definitely influenced my wants, hopes, and desires to kind of get more into this series, right? Like I'm like, Mom, we have all these toys, we have to watch the movie. And she's like, I don't know if you guys are ready for this. Like, you guys are kind of cowards.
Do you remember the time we tried to watch Jaws?
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's a giant lake in front of us. That's a dumb movie to show kids who live at a lake.
Yeah,
it's like, that's fair. It is space.
Yeah.
It's like, exactly. We got it. It's fine for us to watch. We won't get scared.
No,
we were terrified and went back to the comics.
That's
it's fine. You just hide in that cool alien toy, that alien like robot toy. That was the cool one. Never had it.
Yeah, cool, awesome. So that is Tyson's first memories, his toys. Goddamn toys. Yep. All right, so without that, let's get into the terrible plot summary and let's review this movie. So Ripley is found 57 years in the future. She is convinced to return to LV-426, loads up some ships, and explores a rundown facility with some space marines. The marines are destroyed in the alien's nest, which causes the survivors to retreat and learn that the reactor is going to blow in 4 hours. They barricade, are attacked by facehuggers, and invaded by aliens. The remaining marines are taken out as Ripley and Hicks escapes in a ship. But Ripley must return to the nest on sublevel 3 to save Newt, destroy some eggs, and piss off the queen. There's a funny elevator scene, an escape, a stowaway queen, and a final fight with a power loader before the queen is blown into outer space.
Yeah. Epic movie. And it's got that James Cameron double climax.
Yep.
Super good. Fun weapons, fun characters, just fun, and a tight story. Like, it makes sense. And
I would say that, like, I watched the theatrical cut for this, and I'm missing what is given to you in the director's cut. And I don't know if streaming services has the ability to do both, but I would love to start seeing streaming services giving you those options to be like, add in the deleted scenes, the theatrical, like, because the director's cut does add just a lot more story, a lot more lore, a lot more to this world that was deleted due to the fact that they were like, oh no, this was kind of back in the day when they're like, movies should be short, 90 minutes, don't ever get close to 2 hours, and like go. So, they cut out a lot of stuff, which adds to the movie, which I think people would have appreciated, but it disappeared. So I did find myself missing that a little bit on the theatrical cut this time, but it's still good. It's still very, very good.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the extended cut? Do you know what's in it?
Yep.
Because okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I have obviously on Disney Plus. I have it digital copy.
Okay.
On my Google account, because this is another one of my travel movies. This and first Alien movie. If you want to kill a few hours, you just watch both those movies. And then I have the actual like Blu-ray. So I've seen it. And I was like watched it. And I was like, I do miss parts of the extended cut, but I also just love this movie. So that's just my rose tinted glasses.
Yeah. Well, like even like I watched it last night, and I'm like, I've nothing going on this afternoon. I'm like, oh, maybe I play some video games and just watch the director's cut and like get those extra scenes. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So noteworthy if you're out there, you see these movies. I think I have like the Alien versus Predator Attack Pack. I found it at Best Buy back like maybe 10 years ago, and it was like $10 for all these movies. That's not bad. Not bad. But speaking of it not being bad, let's get into our review. We have to start with what's our favorite part of the movie. Tyson, what's your favorite part of Aliens?
Well, I would typically say like the lore and the canon and all that stuff that it builds. But I'm gonna go with something different. I really love how just tight this movie is. Like, gosh darn it, everybody who works on this did such a good job. I actually like. So first time I watched it, I just like watched it, and then I kind of like went back and rewatched a few scenes just to see how it breaks down. And I've always wondered like who dies first when the alien or when the Marines start getting picked off one by one.
Okay.
And it totally makes sense. It's all coherent. When you kind of slow down and pay attention, you can see, yeah, like that person gets picked off and they're holding the flamethrowers. They light up the guy who just so happens to be holding all the magazines. And then because the magazines blow up, the other two guys get like knocked down. Then the one guy gets, one of the other guys that gets wounded while in all the chaos gets pulled away. And then like Apone gets picked off. And then it's really just like Blake at the end getting jumped by Buddy who's hiding in the shadows. And then I was like wow, that is so tight. It like when you watch it's coherent. I when you first watch it and you're just seeing it for the first time, it's chaos, immediate chaos, and it's like that's really impactful but then to rewatch it and actually like slow it down, it's like, oh no, but it's all there. It's all there. You just got to watch it. And it happens so fast.
Yeah, and you do almost need to pause. And that's a good point. When I watched it last night, time was definitely moving a little bit slower for in my perception. So being able to sit and kind of enjoy, yeah, exactly. Those combat scenes, because sometimes with these movies they seem like jumbled, and getting that like slow down effect, and you're like, oh, I can take all this in. It is very tight. It does make sense. And yeah, you miss those little things, right? Like all of their explosive rounds in the bag that gets lit on fire that explodes, right? Like, really.
Or when they're all running through the vents.
Yeah.
And how like some people kind of get lost along the way, and that ends up to their demise. And
you realize things. Yeah, like you're in the vents and you get the like what's Vasquez, right? The woman, she shoots the alien in the head and like the acid gets on her leg and then she's kind of stuck. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess because her like leg is like melting off, right? Like especially your calf. Like the acid is
that boot's going to do nothing to protect you.
100%, right? Like it just seems like it's extremely dangerous. So cool. For myself, my favorite parts, I'm going to go with the world building that Cameron did. I think, he took kind of the dark gritty future that Scott loves, and you saw in his like Blade Runner work. He loves kind of that gritty, that grimy, and he just kind of like represented it and built upon it into a fancy, flashy kind of future world, right? The sets, the character design, the special effects are just all amazing, kind of top to bottom throughout this film. A couple scenes, right, when the ships are flying, it kind of like, what decade is this made in? Like, it looks like something from like the original Star Trek. So that's maybe my one criticism, is like the ships don't look the greatest, but like everything else inside, the stuff they built. And even like the matte painting to set transitions are really nice, right? Like they have that big hangar. At one point you're like, oh, that's clearly a matte painting, and then they kind of pan over when all the actors come in, and you're like, oh no, that's a pretty solid transition, right? So just appreciating those. And I mean, man, the alien hive. That's like it's a shame that doesn't exist, and you could just go to this decommissioned power station on like a tour of like the alien mine, because that sounds like maybe one of the greatest thrilling amusement parks that could ever exist, right? How terrified would you be walking through that area?
Oh, could you imagine if Disney was like, oh, we're just gonna have like, and you get a suit up with like, we're gonna you're in a hostile territory and you're getting escorted through with these Marines. You just have these guys Marines, and you have the beep beep, and you just like have alien people in alien costumes like pop out.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that'd be brilliant. It'd work really, really well.
Well, the problem is they'd be like, well, we could do it with virtual reality, and you'd have to fight all the aliens. It'd be so much better to do that. Yeah, you're right. Have that scene. You walk through these creepy sets, and then just have nothing.
Yeah.
Get in the elevator. Go, 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 go. You'll be okay. And then you'd be like, what did I just survive? Yes, very simple. Okay, what about what's our most? I also really like most of this movie, right? So like Ripley, and like the characters of like Ripley, and how she kind of goes from this traumatic damsel in distress who's like literally just broken at the beginning of the film to having to step back up, throw the trauma aside to be able to save the Marines, right? When no one else can, she has to step up again and kind of kick ass. And even though she's scared, right? Like, they call her a strong female character, but that doesn't mean that she's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and she's like punching the aliens in the face. She's just competent. When like the pressure hits her, she's like, fuck, let's go. I'm going to drive this tank and go save all the men, right? Like, she acts so quickly. That's why she's a strong character. It's not because of like an actual strength. It's her ability to react to the trauma and the stress of the world better than others, right? Whereas you have the one Marine standing in the corner yelling about, it's game over, man, it's game, and like losing his mind. She's like, oh, what do we have to do next? Like, how do we survive, right? Like, what's the best way to deal with this situation? So, like, I love all those things. I love, all those things right down the wire. So, I'll go with that kind of a blanket statement. Our next category, however, is most notable scene or part of the movie. So is it Ripley dreaming of a chest burster being in her, the introduction to all the Marines, Ripley using the power loader, exploring Hadley Hope, the Marines in the nest escape, game over, man, game over, the facehugger, medbay attack, the xenomorphs and the trackers, the xenomorph attack, and then just the chase to the facility, Ripley going back into the nest, the showdown with the Queen alien, or the final fight with the Queen on the ship. Maybe there's something else. This category is, you haven't seen this movie for a while. Maybe it's been a while. Maybe you've only seen it once. What's the part you want to talk about? What stands out the most? What stays with you? Stays, what's your most notable scene or part of this film?
Well, it's kind of like anytime they're in alien territory.
Okay.
So like them going to the nest, that's iconic. That was like easily my favorite scene. But also when Ripley meets the Queen, it's just like, so that's just so satisfying in a movie. You get to see the actual thing that lays all these eggs that, because you've always kind of like wondered, like, what are these eggs from? Then it's like, here's a giant queen monster.
Mm-hmm.
Go. And you're just like, oh, this is so satisfying and so beautifully paid off. And I love that that's just the climax. It's just like Ripley runs into the Queen, takes a wrong corner, and after trying to save Newt, because her character motivation is like, no one left, like, I will not lose this kid. That is like, I will, anything else, I have one thing left in this goddamn world. It's like, I'm not going to lose this kid.
Well, it's the same as her, like, trying to save Jonesy the cat in the first movie. They just upped the stakes, right? By making it a little girl, all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, like, some people might like cats. Some people are like, well, I'd have to save my cat in that scenario. Whereas I'm like, fuck cats. Like, what is a cat ever? Cats are kind of jerks. I'm leaving the spaceship. We have lots of cats back on Earth. Versus like a little girl, you'd be like, well, yeah, you're right. I probably should save this little girl. So it ups the stakes a little bit more in most people's eyes, right? Like, maybe you love cats and you'd go back and save the cat. Good for you. Good for you saving cats. And if you're not gonna save the cat and not the little girl, that's interesting. I want to talk to that person.
Yeah, I don't.
But like me also, I might go back and save the cat in like these tight corridors. I have a flamethrower. Sure, I have a chance. But like, you know what I'm not doing ever? Going into the nest. Like, I could, anyone, like my wife's holding a winning lottery ticket and she's captured and she's down in this nest, and I'd be like, I don't need money that badly. I'm just going to leave. Oh,
and the whole time, like, Ripley.
I mean, I love my wife and I definitely would do that. I just want to put that out there. So
yeah, no, of course. But that, like, no, seriously, like, that her going into that nest is so tense. Like, and it's like she's dropping flares so she knows kind of where she's at. Like, she is an experienced person who's hardened, is determined, is a complete badass in this moment.
Well, and it makes so much sense, too, based on just, like, the timeline of the movie. When they first go to the nest, all the creatures, all the xenomorphs are there, right? The nest is full of xenomorphs. They're resting. It's their sleep time, right? They're doing that thing where they recharge, and they're not hunting. They're not actively hunting because it's not nighttime, right? So they're all there. So, of course, the Marines get knocked out. But when Ripley goes, where are all the xenomorphs? They're in the facility, which is, like a good distance across this compound, right? Like, they're not next door. So of course it's easier for Ripley to get through outside of the Queen, right? Because it's just the Queen alien, maybe a couple guards, maybe one or two alien like warriors that kind of brought back Newt, or maybe Paul Reiser's character, right? Like, I'm sure there's a couple kicking around, but the majority of all the xenomorphs are actually at the facility still, like, try to chase these guys down. And they get to the helipad and they see them like fly across, and they're like, oh shit, we should go over there.
Oh yeah, they just like you just spooked the rat's nest, and like they're all out there snooping, and they just chased you out of their nest. So why would you go right back into it? That makes no sense. That's not a survival instinct. A survival instinct would be to run. But it's like it's so well thought out. It's so badass. I love how she is so competent in this moment, where she's dropping flares. She's like bursting with the flamethrower.
How do you feel though about the vindictiveness? So there's a stare down where she has Newt. She's about to leave. She's standing around all these eggs, and her and the queen kind of have like almost an understanding where she has two kind of guards aliens come out to attack Ripley, and she kind of like, no, back off, because if you attack her, she's gonna torture or flame all my eggs, right? Like she's gonna burn this nest down. So like let her go. And then vindictively, Ripley kind of attacks and burns and shoots the grenades and blows up her like egg sack. Like, is that in line with Ripley's character, or is that just some type of weird?
Is there not two eggs opening up behind them?
Oh, I see. So she's kind of like, "Fuck you," but like
no, the alien queen's like playing her like, "Oh no, you're free to go," all the way all like and like brushes off the two xenomorphs like, "No, it's safe here. You're safe here. You're fine." And all the while it's like, no, there's two literally face huggers just like opening up right behind them.
Cool.
And that's when like Rip really being smart enough and is aware enough to be like, no, you're not just going to let me kill these things. I need to exterminate you. I see what you guys do. You are bred for one thing, and it's killing things.
More of just being a virus. Yeah, more reproducing and like survival than killing, right? Because they're not really in the business of killing. They're the indoctrinating of the virus.
Sometimes. I mean, they did just straight up kill the helicopter pilot.
Yeah, sometimes they do, but like they didn't know. I am assuming he was probably like, "Oh, I need to take out these two guys on this helicopter," and the result was just the ship crashing, I guess. For myself, the nest is so good. Poking your head up in a ceiling and seeing a bunch of aliens crawling around pipes is also kind of terrifying. The design of the xenomorph. I think the xenomorph design in this film, right? That's one of the things Cameron brought to the world is how do they move? How do they attack? Man, it's creepy. Like my wife was sitting there and she was kind of like, ugh, this is a dumb action movie. She didn't really get into it until we got down to Hadley Hope. And then she kind of got a little more quiet. And then anytime you'd seen a xenomorph, she was like, oh God, making these horrible sounds, right? Because they're just like, you can feel the chills running up and down her spine as she's kind of like taking it in.
And they're gross. Yeah. Like that's one thing is like the Queen's design is the slimy, gross thing. And all the close-ups, like these things are like covered in slime.
Well, even it moving and it's so skeletal, and it's just such a like an otherworld design for most of these creatures, and like that. I love that, and I mean, we're gushing over like the nest scene. What a genius! Like this movie, if they would have just been in the random hallway, or they would have came and just attacked everyone at the base. No, it's not the same effect. You need the creepiness of the nest, right? And that kind of otherworld H.R. Geiger kind of scary environment that they create there. So cool. How about now? This sucks because this is a good movie. We're having a good time. We got to be negative here a little. What's our least favorite part of this movie? Tyson, what's your least favorite part?
Well, I hate when this movie ends.
Yeah,
it's always like no more good aliens ever. It's like even the video games are kind of meh. It's like we've had nothing good after this.
Alien Isolation would get you there probably.
It does the trick, but again, it's just like kind of like it feels like you're running away from just one alien. Yeah. This is full on like Marines go in loud and hoorah, and then they get absolutely smoked. And then it's just like, no, these things are way scarier than you can ever manage.
So much like our Logan review, right? If you listen to that from about a month ago, we're like our criticism and our least favorite parts are the stupidest, nitpickiest thing because the movie's so good. It's hard to have a least favorite part of such a good, epic movie, that's been a part of our lives for guys. Like, oh man, I'm looking like almost 30 years I've been having this movie in my life, right? Probably before, like we count when the toys, like we started playing with the toys. Yeah, like, man, 32 years I've had these little guys in my life. It's great. But for myself, there are some things, a little nitpicky. There's a line that when they wake up from the pods and everyone's getting ready, there's these two girls and they're like, oh, who's this? And she's like, oh, it's the new lieutenant's Ripley. Apparently she saw an alien. Okay, all right. So the next scene, the Marines are talking about sleeping with an Octurian, which is like, I guess, like a humanoid creature that is very beautiful. But again, aliens exist. We know other life forms as we're exploring the universe exist. Why were they being so shitty about this alien? And then literally the next scene, the Marines are like, oh, so this is a bug hunt? We're going in to kill bugs? Kind of. That's what xenomorphs really are. They're just kind of a bug with acid blood that, like, birth themselves out of humans. So, like, we know that there's bugs in outer space. We know that there's these Octurians, which are, like, different from humans. So other life forms exist. So why was that girl so shitty to Ripley? Why was she like, aliens? Yeah, like, aliens exist. What the fuck?
Could just be jealousy. Could be just be pettiness. But, yeah, I don't know. So weird. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's a sign of arrogance. Like, these guys are like, oh no, we're like, whatever it is, we'll just go in, we'll shoot it, we'll kill it. That's all we do. We're like, we have the best guns. We got flamethrowers, grenade launchers, all these things, all in just our one gun.
It does.
There's like 12 of us.
It does make more sense if it's more of a. How do I want to phrase this? More of a, oh, she saw an alien one time and she was a really big deal. Versus they're like, oh, we kill aliens all the time. This is kind of what we do. So, like, maybe that's how it's supposed to be played. Like, oh, she saw an alien and she thinks it's a big deal. Not realizing the threat that they're coming upon, right? So, okay, all right.
Yeah.
About a final criticism. So one more negative point, and let's get back to the positive. So what's a criticism for the movie Aliens?
Why don't you start? I'm still processing.
All right. So for myself, you know what? God damn it. Timelines in movies just don't make sense ever. They don't. It could be an X-Men movie. It could be an Aliens. That doesn't matter. Timelines are just going to chase you. So the timeline in the theatrical cut is kind of confusing. So Ripley was 10 months away from Earth in Alien. That's what they're like. Oh, we're still 10 months away. Okay. So there's a long distance you have to travel. That's about the difference from like LV-426 and Earth. 10 months or whatever. She drifted for 57 years. All right. So obviously overshot it, went back to Earth. And now it will take 17 days for a rescue team to come get them after the nest attack. So that means that the 10 months that it takes to travel this distance in the future now only takes 17 days. Cool, awesome. New time travel, perfect. Newt was noted as lasting twice that long by herself. So at least 35 days. So when Hadley Hope went down to when the Marines showed up, about at least 35 days. Okay, so about a month. That's how long it took them to get there. So why does the rescue team come in 17 days when it took them 35 to get out there first? And then the lady that we find in the nest, who must have just been captured because like a chest burster gets out of her, right? So she lived pretty long by herself. So like, did they hypersleep for a month to make it easier? Why is the rescue team coming so much faster? And then, so like, that's just something to think about. And like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I guess, like, okay. And then like, yeah. And then some of the action scenes, they don't really age well. They look kind of bad. There's lots of parts where they're like, oh my God, xenomorphs. And they're shooting. And there's just xenomorphs crawling around. And clearly the xenomorphs were never on set with the actors. And they're always kind of like out of place and look kind of goofy. So, yeah.
It's kind of its time, unfortunately. It does a pretty good job hiding a lot of that stuff. But yeah, you can kind of tell, like, hey, they're on a set right now.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really good. I'm staring at an alien, and it looks kind of in darkness.
There's a couple times I think when they're in the vents chasing away, it's just the exact same shot of an alien scuttling down the vent. And they just show that like 4 or 5 different times, right? So, and I get it. Obviously, these suits are awkward and like they didn't have super prosthetics, that they can, and CGI to make these things look a bit more realistic. So it does play with your imagination a little bit. And like that one, I'm not being as harsh on. It was a sign of the times, right? Like I prefer most of it. I prefer like the sets and the practical stuff to the CGI that we would have got nowadays. So, but the timeline, I just wish it was a bit clearer. Maybe in the director's cut it is, but I don't think it is.
Yeah. And I guess my one criticism would be Burke, like the slimy guy that greenlit and I guess because the
So Paul Reiser's character, who plays like the corporate stooge, who's interested in getting the alien at any cost, and everyone else's life is expendable. So what about him? Are you criticizing?
well, I just the whole like convenience that he's the one that greenlit the whole mining operation to start. Actually, like, I think he got word first. Is the story like he gets word first, and then he tells them no, experiment on these things, which is why they have all the face huggers.
I think what happens is he makes a phone call that says, hey, you should go check out these coordinates, because once Ripley comes back, she relays the coordinates to him, like during their meetings, and then he tells Hadley Hope to say like, oh, hey, you guys should go check this out, knowing that one of them will more likely have a face hugger, which turns into an alien, which will be a whole thing, and then they can just go in afterwards and collect a specimen.
Okay. See, I should have watched the darn extended cut. That darn theatrical cut.
Yeah,
always had me
exactly.
tripped up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you watch the beginning, they get the phone call, they go check it out, you see kind of what happens. I think it's actually like Newt's dad who ends up being the guy who has the face hugger on him.
Yeah.
So,
now that you said that, I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
That's the scene. I'm like,
and there's
guess I missed a
one
phone call
line
there.
in the theatrical, or sorry, not I think I said theatrical, I meant director's cut. In the theatrical version, there's one line where he says, I looked at the log, Burke, I know you're the person that told them to go check out that ship.
Yes. Well, there's that line, but I was like, that's so fleeting. It's like that's his hook to this. I was like,
that was
but it makes more sense.
Yeah, that was Cameron
in the
editing
extended
out a
cut.
bunch of stuff, and he's like, they'll figure it out. Who cares, right? So
This line will fix that entire like 5-minute sequence we cut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So okay, sweet. All right, so we've cleared that up. So you didn't help me with my timeline. Like, what's up with the girl, the lady they met? Like, that seems weird, right?
She's I definitely there's other survivors. Newt's just not the only one.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing special about Newt. It's just the aliens realize that these humans are essentially like it's essentially like fish in a barrel. But they're not going to overfish. They're just going to kind of pick and choose, and then at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we got a good solid haul today. We'll come back tomorrow, grab some more. So I feel like that was the play, because it seems like this has been a long, prolonged. It wasn't like one night they showed up, killed everybody.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it's once in a while they just come in and they steal people in their sleep. So all the survivors just kind of hit out and pick them off one by one. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Criticism. Okay, finally, we end with a praise of our review. So my praise is the roller coaster ride that this movie sends you on. First, you feel kind of for Ripley and her situation. She's down on her luck. Then you're kind of pumped up with the Marines. And then they destroy that safe feeling and leave you feeling vulnerable and scaring your pants off you, right? But then Ripley kind of leads the charge, and at the end she kind of makes you feel safe until there's another terrifying scene on the ship. So it's just these constant up and downs of action that Cameron does a darn good job of kind of propelling you through this movie. And like, watch it till there's the bad part. There is no bad parts. They're all great, right? And then I guess I'll leave my other praise here that I just wanted to make note of. What's your final praise?
Super tight movie. I love all the characters. Even the annoying character at the beginning is then like a crumbling mess at the end. It's very, very good. Hicks is, I think he does a good job. Plays it a little like more subtle. Like, I don't want to be a leader. I guess I am now in charge. He just kind of wants to be one of the kids, but he's just like, he's competent, and I don't know, it's really, really good. It's hard to nitpick this movie. I love this movie from start to finish. This is one of my favorite movies. I could watch this movie. Someone was like, hey, you have to watch a movie for a week straight, that's all you're allowed to do, and you get X amount of dollars. I'd be like, Aliens.
Yeah, okay.
So I could just watch it, because I'm like, it's so good. Even after talking to him, like, I could go rewatch this movie.
That's where I'm at. Like, I've watched it twice in preparation, and I'm like, maybe I'll go find the theatrical cut and watch that this afternoon while I play some video games, right? Like I've said, it's probably what I'm doing. So good for this. And then I would be, we talked a little bit, but Sigourney Weaver, Ellen Ripley, amazing character. She's great. She kicks ass here. Way more than the first one, right? She deserves a little bit of praise before I kind of walk away. And like I mentioned, she isn't just a strong character, and she's super competent. And she's like, I have all the computer skills, and give me the computer. And like, oh, you know what? I've never seen a lightsaber, but I could defeat the guy at the end, right? She isn't the Betty Sue, she is a character who has a lot of flaws and has the emotional baggage and can't go to sleep, right? Like her weakness right now is she can't sleep. She's terrified. She's traumatized by this experience, and you know, like it's not in your face, but you see her take charge and overcome the obstacles, and is afraid, right? And is afraid and is doing the best she can. And really, the only badass scene she has is with the flamethrower and the assault rifle when she's in the elevator, right? But other than, and I guess the end with like the loader, right? But other than that, like she's pretty much just trying to survive and make do, and it's super understated. I think she even won or was nominated for like a best actress as a result of this, from this like big budget flashy action movie. You never see best actors coming from this, right? So like she just did so much. It was like underplayed. More characters should be written like this, especially for women, right? We don't need the badass and the high heels that can run and do the flips. And you're like, wow, Angelina Jolie's so cool. She killed 27 guys with like with one bullet. And you're like, that's stupid. Like that's too much. You know, like you got to make them real characters, right? And like Ripley, she's having trouble sleeping. Well, guess what? After she kills, what does she do at the end of the movie? She goes to sleep with Newt, right? Like it's that nice closure where now she can rest, right? Now she can get that rest she's been craving because she kind of took care of this trauma. So it's incredibly done from that point of view, and it's hard, not has been replicated that well. You know, like the formula's there, and they kind of don't. They drop the ball a lot, so that's a shame.
Yeah. And oh my goodness. Yeah, she does a really good job. That one scene, like the nest scene, is so good. I swear to God, it's her trying to like, hey, you know, you do realize where they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, well, that could be go nuclear if that one of those pressure tanks gets
just simple common sense. Like she finds, even when she's like, hey, look, here's the blueprints, you know, weld these 3 doors shut and we're fine. Right, everyone's like, "Oh, that's impressive," right? So, like, the competency that she kind of shows again and again, even from the first one. No, you have to go in quarantine. You got an alien presence. That's a quarantine procedure.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And she's even competent. She's like, "I can do a loader. I don't have to stand around." Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah. How can I help? Yeah, exactly. Is there anything I can do? He's like, "I don't know. Is there anything you could do?" It's perfect. He's like, "I'm not going to babysit you and tell you what to do, but if you could be helpful, right?" So, it's done excellent. It's done well. I don't know. I have heard actually a lot of credit goes to, what's that girl? Gail Ann Hurd as a producer. Apparently she really pushed for the Sigourney Weaver aspect and giving her kind of that competency above anything else. So maybe more women should be responsible for some of these projects and not just give it all to men sometimes, maybe. Not that anything that women likes ever makes money. Like Barbie didn't make any money, and like Taylor Swift isn't like killing it right now, but like women basically have no money ever, so you should definitely just go for like young males. That's how you make money.
Oh, yes. Beyonce and Madonna and Britney Spears.
These guys, they never make anything.
Never made oodles and noodles of money, and let's not mention Oprah. It's like there's literally billionaire women up there, and it's like, seriously, it's like, so goofy. Yeah. Hopefully Barbie changes that. So
we'll see. Okay, and then finally, so that kind of ends my review. Is there anything else that you want to say about Aliens before putting a bow on it, walking away from it?
James Cameron did an amazing job. I always like to throw shade at him. This is one but he's made some incredible movies. And this is just, I think, a masterpiece from start to finish. This is like a horror action movie. It's like this is a hard genre to nail, and this takes itself completely seriously.
Yeah.
We'll
look at like 10 years later when they did like Starship Troopers. Similar idea. Marines, propaganda, aliens, supposed to be kind of horror-y. And it's just not done as well. It's hard to land. So awesome. Cool. For myself, I think I kind of echoed everything. We will talk a little bit about the directors kind of in cultural significance, but we got to get through what Are You Buying It way back, and then we'll end with a little bit of fun. Tyson might have a game to play. So Are You Buying It? So after this movie, the next 4 movies are just the surviving characters' nightmares. So Ripley comes to term with birthing an alien queen in Alien 3. Hicks dreams about the military struggles against the xenomorphs in Alien Resurrection. Bishop is dreaming about an android taking center stage and manipulating an entire crew, like in Prometheus. And finally, Newt dreams of a bunch of colonists on a new world being attacked by an alien presence in Alien Covenant.
God, wouldn't that be a nice way to just wrap a bow on all those movies and just kick them into the dumpster and be like, their dreams, forget about it, they don't exist.
Alien Covenant really should have ended with them all waking up in their pods, being like, see, they were just dreams, Newt. They were just dreams. And you're like, oh, cool, all right.
But everybody's older.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are we older? It's like,
we missed Earth by 57 years.
It's like, oh,
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, guess that was 30 years. It's okay. Let's try again.
Yeah, shit. Okay, all right.
And just like, seriously, it'd be like, let's try again. And then just like look to the camera and everybody go back to sleep and be like, good. Now we can get a real movie. Ugh, hate those. I hate those other movies. Three's not terrible. Four is pretty bad. And then the less said about Alien versus Predator, the better.
Yeah. How about a Wayback Machine? So now that we've kind of talked about the movie, let's take a quick look and see what did the world look like when it came from. So July 8th, 1986. Top TV shows you could be watching in this year: Cosby Show, Family Ties, Cheers, Murder, She Wrote, and The Golden Girls.
Well, I know what I'd be watching. Probably some Murder, She Wrote.
Oof, love me some Murder, She Wrote. Top cartoons released this year were Ghostbusters, or Real Ghostbusters, My Little Pony, Silverhawks, and Pound Puppies.
Huh. Remember those like those Pound Puppies that had like turned into superheroes?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's around this time.
Again, we weren't even born when those were toys. Like, they must have came out later, unless they re-released them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was not paying attention to the year.
Okay, all right, that's a good point. All right, top movies. So nothing opened up against this film, but still in theaters. You could see About Last Night, and it goes ... So I don't know what that means. Oh no, that's because that's in the title. About Last Night, Big Trouble in Little China, Psycho 3, Excellent. Karate Kid Part 2, Back to School, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Solid year for movies.
Yeah, and then if you wait a week or two, don't we're not done yet. A week or two, you could see Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, Howard the Duck, Stand By Me, Transformers the movie, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Wow, this movie really is going to leave you scarred.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like imagine if you had a bunch of movie tickets and you went saw these movies, like you'd be a crumpled person by the end.
Oh, seriously, it'd be crazy. Like, you watch Aliens, and then you're like, well, I need something lighthearted. Watch Transformers, you're like, well, that was pretty dark. Let's try something else. Then you watch Stand By Me, and you're like, well, that's even worse. Texas Chainsaw. Let's double down. We've been scarred so much. Let's just watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then you're like, that was horrible.
Life is futile. Why are we alive? Yes. Top video games released this year were The Legend of Zelda, Castlevania, Mario The Lost Levels, Metroid, Ghostbusters, Kid Icarus, Rampage, Bubble Bobble, and Wonder Boy.
Wow. Okay, cool. That's when this is the Nintendo is out.
Yeah, no, it's rocking. If you have an NES, man, you are not leaving your house to go watch Back to School, that's for sure. And then finally, the top 3 songs according to the Billboard charts is I Miss You by Climax. Number 2 song is Say You, Say Me by Lionel Richie. And the number 1 song is That's What Friends Are For by Dionne Warwick and Friends.
Okay. Heavy R&B right now, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Well, I guess just those specific dates. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. So now you know what the pop cultural landscape. And you're like, wow, if I was alive back then. But that means you're old now, so...
Yeah. if only a few years away.
Only a few years away. Sweet. Cool. And then finally, we're going to end with a cultural significance as we kind of put a bow on everything. Tyson's going to play a little game, and we'll go from there. So in this section, we look at game design, or movie design, the lore, inspirations, turning points, interesting stories, talk how this game relates, give other examples, tie it all back together in the end. We had 3 shows here. So... for 3 shows, last week we talked about The Perfect Organism. Tyson had The Perfect Organism Battle Royale. This week we're looking at Best Movie Sequels. Okay, all right. And then maybe we'll finish off with something scary. And I left it ambiguous enough that I don't have to commit to one specific gimmick, and based on time, maybe it's very, very short. So So before we get into best movie sequels, let's have a director off here. But first, director off. So between these two creators, directors, whatever you want to kind of label them as, we have two guys, Ridley Scott, James Cameron. I went and looked and found their top 5 box office movies. So quickly, let's give a shade to these kind of two great creators of this iconic franchise. So Ridley Scott, his number 1 grossing film was The Martian, followed up by Gladiator, Prometheus, Hannibal, and Robin Hood. So a couple newer titles that kind of bumped it up, and then just honorable mentions from his filmography would be Black Hawk Down, Alien, Thelma and Louise, and Blade Runner.
Yeah, Ridley Scott. He used to know how to make some movies. I don't think what he's doing now counts, but that's just me.
I heard The Martian was really good. It came out, I haven't seen it, but people are like, oh, go watch it. Gladiator is great. Prometheus, it kind of works. There's some like flack, but I don't know if it's his. I don't know if he was the problem in Prometheus. It might be one of those studio issues, right, where you're kind of you're like, all right, fine, whatever, producer, you do what you want, right? So it's a pretty solid filmography, right? Like lots of these things, like between some of the earlier works of Alien, Thelma and Louise, Blade Runner, how culturally significant were those films, right? Like they're far-reaching, that we still talk about them, they still affect us. Gladiator, you want to talk about cultural significant performances and movies, like that's a big one too, right? So his hand and his work will kind of shape our society for a little while, right?
Oh, definitely, especially since he's even kind of branched off into making movies and such, and he's been at a lot. I'm just on his IMDb page, and he has he's got 51 director titles, and James Cameron's got 22, so much more of a workhorse. So when you look at sheer scope of all the things that he's done, he's pretty solid. However, if you're gonna go with top of the top, I do tend to lean James Cameron in this argument.
I was gonna say, because now, okay, so great, so we've got this cool, he had a some cool concepts, made some money. James Cameron, so he had Avatar, which was the highest grossing movie ever, Avatar 2, which is the second highest grossing movie ever, Titanic, which was for the longest time the highest grossing movie ever, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, which might be one of the greatest 90s movies ever made, right? That has cultural impact. Followed up by 5th, which is True Lies. You're like, oh, okay, cool. What other movies didn't he have? It's Aliens, and he did Terminator. Okay, cool. The Abyss, and then Piranha 2, The Spawning. And those might be literally everything he made. Yeah.
Doesn't dabble a lot. He spends his money going to the bottom of Mariana's Trench. Like a sane rich man.
Yeah.
But he does it right, because he believes in, the engineers and the process, and he's a very smart man. I mean, I'd like to throw shade at James Cameron, but at the same time, the dude is an incredible director.
From a creative talent and a directing point of view, awesome. His own personal politics, and does he do goofy things? Of course he does, but that's kind of why he's so great, right? Is because he's so weird.
Yeah, and to know that he was a trucker, and then he wrote Terminator, and that's kind of how he got, that was his first kind of kick at it. And it's I can make these movies things, and he's had his hand as a practical effects guy, so he's a director with a practical effects background, so he has this huge love for it. The Avatar franchise, huge, massive money makers, basically forced everybody to be you're either a CGI, CGI is the future, and you need to just embrace this. And that's where a lot of my hate towards James Cameron comes in, is because he just popularized a shortcut.
Well, not only that, but he popularized.
Not everybody else is James Cameron. James Cameron can pull it off because he's James Cameron. Nobody else can do these things.
Yeah, and I think that's I would love to discredit Avatar as being a CGI mess and wrecked movies with its pushing its 3D, but the 3D in Avatar is amazing. When I first saw it in theaters, things were floating behind you, and at one point I looked up to see all the weird spores and stuff, and I was expecting to see them behind me because it's so layered and it's so well shot and it's so intricate. But then everyone else just said, oh, we can just put 3D and make more money on our tickets. Perfect, great, cool. We'll have one scene where Captain America throws his shield at you, and you're like, whoa. but the rest of the movie isn't shot that way. So yeah, like the craft that he has gone to and the extent that he goes to kind of push the genre, it is bastardized by everyone else who falls before him because they don't have the same care and love that he puts into his films, right? So yeah, his shade is he's like too good and no one else can copy him.
Yeah, no one else can build the scale of James Cameron.
Yeah.
No, but like you could have maybe argued for a child, like maybe Christopher Nolan could do it.
Who's James
It's like,
Cameron? Clearly my notes say James Camerson.
just noticed that. It's like James Camerson. I like James Camerson better.
James Camerson, you are one of Hollywood's greatest directors, so congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we showed you the love and respect that you deserve. Here's
Absolutely.
to you, Mr. Camerson.
Yes. Well, you know what? Anyone who works on Piranha 2 is okay in my books.
Great. All right, so then I added that just this morning because I was like, how come we never talked about the directors? These guys are great. I might have was at a party last weekend. We were all sitting out, and someone's like, hey, what are you doing on the podcast? I'm like, oh, we just talked about Alien. And they're like, man, I love Alien. And it got into a James Cameron and Ridley Scott conversation. Every guy's like, oh, Gladiator. Oh, Terminator 2. Oh, True Lies. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, these are kind of like the most manliest of manly directors.
They're like, oh, Black Hawk Down.
Guns.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Blade Runner is just like all the sci-fi nerds were like, well, now I have to love. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then in the words of the Queen Alien, and we'll move on. All right, so Aliens is an amazing sci-fi horror movie, where Aliens is an amazing sci-fi action movie. There's a little horror in there. Even though it switched genres on itself, the excellence was still there. And since we did a tournament 2 weeks ago, perhaps we're playing another game. So, we're playing Podtendo's Halloween Best Movie Sequel Over-Under game. So the name of the game is I'm going to give Tyson an IMDb rating based on this list of, it's like 12 movies or something, and he has to guess if the movie is over or under the rating given. So ready for that? So I've got the 12 best, at least movies I wanted to talk about, sequels, and you get to play over under on IMDb ratings. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so we're going to start out with the Star Wars, guys. This is a throwback to a Podtendo show. I wonder if those hold up. You think our Star Wars reviews are any good?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually re-listened to them when I got back into Star Wars this year. So
cool. All right.
Not bad.
All right.
I recommend them.
Sweet. So, Empire Strikes Back, 9.0, over under.
I'm going to say over. I know everybody, like, Empire Strikes Back is a very highly regarded movie, and I think it was nominated for a bunch of awards, so I think it got the respect it deserves. It's over
8.7, so it was under.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. I'm going to say that's some of probably those darn modern reviewers going back and review bombing shit that was good.
How come
so
the green guy talks backwards?
Crap.
It's stupid. Cool.
Yeah. No, the new ones are good.
Yeah. Where's Ray? We need more Ray. How about Mad Max Fury Road? 8.
I mean, apparently I don't know nothing about IMDb ratings, but 8.2 seems low because this is a great movie. I understand it's just like a reboot episode, and yeah, you know, when you all boil it down to it, yeah, it's a reboot episode. I'm gonna it's got to be over. It's got to be over 8.2.
8.1. You're not doing so well. Over 2.
Yeah.
Let's see how Tyson ends with. I guess he has to try and get 7 for like a respectable score, just over 50. See how he does. All right, so The Godfather Part 2 at 9.5. Do you think it's over under 9.5 for Godfather Part 2?
I'm taking the under.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. 9.0. Look at that, first one.
Okay, jeez. Okay. Right. So maybe people just don't rate these things very high. Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm starting to get a benchmark. Starting to benchmark my barometer. Almost back to 500.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're going to go with the second Batman. So I think it was from like 1992 or something. Batman Returns. The last time we'd see Michael Keaton be Batman. Batman Returns. 7.0. Do you think it's over under 7.0?
Oh no! Now I've come to like those were good movies. This is an okay movie. Are they gonna float it up? I'm gonna say that this one actually oddly has a higher rating. I'm gonna go over.
Ding ding ding! 7.1. Well, that was pretty sneaky there. I was like, all right, cool. How about Terminator 2: Judgment Day? Over under 9.1.
Well, so this one, Star Wars had the it's sci-fi, so you're obviously going to lose a bunch of people there. Terminator is an action movie, but it is still sci-fi.
Okay.
So I think I'd be safe. But it's so good. I'm taking the over.
Oh, and 8.6.
Of course, for some reason it's sci-fi and it's under for some reason.
I like, actually, I have got around IMDb ratings as they're kind of accurate. So Empire Strikes Back 8.7, Terminator 2 8.6. Yeah, they're, in terms of quality of movie, yeah, they're pretty darn close, right? Like at 8.6, you think like 80% out of 100 or 86%, that's like an A? I'm like, yeah, that's pretty darn close, right? And the more and more you look at the ratings, the more and more I'm like, oh crap, these are really, really accurate almost, right? So well, sometimes you get goofy ones, like maybe this next one. How about Captain America, the Winter Soldier? Over under 7.5.
I'm going to take, the over.
Ding, 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 7.8. Back to 500. 3 out of 6. Not bad.
Let's go. Okay.
All right. So halfway through, can Tyson redeem himself? Go 4. Probably needs 4 here for a respectable score. Oh, what? Logan. We just talked about it. If I told you over under 8.2, what do you say?
I bet you I want to say it's, personally, I think it would be over. But for some reason, part of me is saying under. I'm going to take the under.
Ding, 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 ding. 8.1. I was sneaky there. I was only off by 1 point.
Yeah, you were.
So again, Logan, Mad Max, Fury Road, 8.1. You're like, yeah, those movies are pretty close together in ratings in terms of quality of movie. Okay, cool, awesome. What about The Incredibles 2 at over under 9.6?
Under.
Ding, ding, ding. 7.6. That was a sneaky one.
I was gonna say, I'm like, there's no way Incredibles 2 is like next to Godfather, because apparently, like, that's the highest rated movies on this list so far, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's a tricky one. Let's see if you can figure out this next one. Top Gun Maverick over under 9.3.
Frick, this is a hard one because people love this movie and it's a modern movie. Just came out recently, so there's probably no big review bombing or any goofiness or slow drift down because it's not modern anymore. I'm gonna take the over. I bet you people are just blowing this movie.
8.3. So it'd be very similar in terms. It's worse than a little better than Logan, worse than T2. Yeah, that's probably about where Top Gun Maverick was. Okay.
My faith in humanity has been restored. It's not a 9 on IMDb.
No.
Okay.
So we got 3 more to go here. So get some retro ones. How about Blade 2 in terms of cool sequels that came out of nowhere that I once saw in my life, and I was like, wow, that was incredible. Blade 2 over under 6.5.
Let's take the under because I like this movie, but I don't think that critics would like this movie.
It is 6.7.
Oh, okay.
So you're only at 5. So you basically have to run the table. If you get one of the next 2, you finish just at 500. These over-under games. I got sneaky on this one. Good.
You did. And some of these are close. It's just like, and then I get in my head about playing mind games.
Yeah, well, it's like, I guess you have to get more into the IMDb rating world like I am. Okay, so how about Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan? 7.6. Do you think it's over under 7.6?
Over?
Ding, 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 ding. 7.7.
Okay, Jesus, just barely. Okay.
Yeah, I should probably handicap this so it's up greater variance in the future.
No, it's all good.
So that's half.
Because it's...
Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have one more on the board. Can Tyson get the last one, which is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? Obviously, one of the greatest sequels ever made. Over under 7.6.
It's a comedy. It's a Christmas movie. And it's got a big cult following where people watch it every year. Oh, man. 7.6 is so arduous because it's not too high would be like an 8 or something. I bet you it's like a 7.8. I'm gonna take the over. This is a beloved movie.
You were so close. You just went the wrong way. And 7.5.
Oh, of course.
There you go. So Tyson Barrett
is close.
Just scraped by. Apparently, he was playing for his life, and 6 out of 12 kept his life alive. So congratulations.
Yeah. Barely. If you're an art major, you failed because you need at least a 60.
That's it. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, only 6. So there was the best Podtendo, and we're short on time because we always try and do too much on this show. We should just stop being ambitious. So we flew through
all
those.
good.
I also feel
all
like we didn't
good.
need to talk about why all these movies were great because most of them are pretty good.
Yeah, it's true. But all right, it's a fun game. But we'll wrap it up there. Hope everybody had a fun listen.
Yeah. Yeah, hope you guys had a good October. Watched some scary movies. We went a little sci-fi. Got scared by some xenomorphs, and we're back in about 4 days or something like that. On next, I think it's like Tuesday or Wednesday. We're recording on the Friday here. Let's see. Yeah, on the Tuesday. So we're back with a Halloween special. So, and I think it's probably in the same vein as the last 2 shows. So you guys figure it out.
Yep. Should be fun.
Okay, cool. See you then.
Bye.